Okay, next let's talk about ways at looking at qualitative data, okay, using graphs. So down below what I've got here is data from the United States Census Bureau, where we've got ethnicity, and we have the frequency of ethnicity as a function of the year 2010 and the year 2021. So this first column in 2010, so that's the frequency. 2021, this is the frequency. And these two columns are relative frequency. You can kind of tell that based off of the percentage values here. So we're going to be using this data to give an example of pie charts. So we've talked a little bit about pie charts, but we're going to go into just a little bit more detail. So a pie chart represents categories of data, and each category is represented as wedges in a circle, like slices in a pizza. The wedges are proportional in size to the data it represents. So, for example, the white ethnicity in 2010, so white ethnicity in 2010 was 63.8. So out of 100, 63.8 is a rather significant wedge. The Hispanic ethnicity is smaller at 16.4%. And so because the value is smaller, the size of the resulting wedge in a pie chart will also be smaller. So pie charts work best with percentages instead of frequency counts. So for example, trying to fit the number 50,736,244 into a wedge representing Hispanic would have been problematic. So trying to fit this number inside that wedge would have been harder than using the percentage 16.4. Pie charts also work best when only one column of categories needs to be represented. So for example, only the 2010 data or only the 2021. It is less optimal to put two pie charts side by side to compare 2010 versus 2021. So let's look at an example here on the next page. Let's see here. Okay, I don't know why that page is blank. There might be an extra page break in there. Okay, so here's an example of two pie charts. One pie chart representing ethnicities in 2010, and another pie chart next to it representing ethnicities in 2021. And you can see when you're trying to compare them side by side and you have to shrink them down, it makes it difficult to read the legend, and these numbers get much smaller. These pie wedges get smaller. It's just a little bit more difficult. So in this video, these are in color. The printed copy that you may have may not be in color. It's probably in shades of gray, in which case, with the shades of gray, it would be difficult to use this legend because shades of gray are harder to differentiate than colors are. So displaying an easy-to-read graph is more important than how pretty it looks. So instead of using colors, use black and white patterns instead. Okay, so here you can see with this version of the same pie chart, instead of using colors, I've used different patterns to fill in each wedge. And so the patterns stand out much more clearly in a black and white format versus a color being converted to black and white. This pie chart down below is different in that this pie chart has what's called a legend. Okay, a legend is a key that kind of tells you how to interpret the graph to the left of it, or adjacent to it, I should say. So you can see here this white ethnicity is being denoted by a pattern which has diagonal lines. And so you can see here we've got clear diagonal lines. You know, the black ethnicity, for example, is an area that's shaded with dots. So here we can see a wedge that is shaded with dots, okay? But even using patterns, it can be difficult to kind of draw a connection with the legend and the wedges in the pie chart. Instead, it's better if you can to put the categories themselves next to the number, next to the actual wedge in the pie chart they represent. This way, you don't have to look at a legend and then look at the picture, then go back to the legend, then go back to the picture. Okay, it's easier just to look at the picture, and in one place, if you're interested in this wedge, you know that it represents the Hispanic ethnicity at 16.4%. So I think ideally, this is probably the best way to format pie charts if you can.